Hi, Love Bug. Welcome to the Naked Yoga Podcast. This podcast is all about incorporating bits and pieces of yogic philosophy and spirituality into your everyday life. I'm your host, Nika Okoli, a graduate student at Columbia University's Spirituality Mind-Body Institute. I'm also a yoga and meditation instructor at a little studio called Core Power Yoga. You may have heard of it. My mission here is to help you nourish your mind, body, and spirit connection. Each podcast episode will begin with a guided meditation, followed by the core of the episode pairing a spiritual concept with science. Lastly, each episode will end with a mindful closure, providing you with actionable steps you can do after listening to deepen your mind, body, and spirit connection. So, without further ado, let's get right into today's episode. Hello, my loves. Welcome to another episode of the Naked Yoga Podcast. I am your host, Nika, and I am just feeling so good today. I woke up on the right side of the bed, I guess. I did my meditations and my journals and my prayers, and I just feel like I'm finally starting to feel like myself again, and I just feel like everything I have ever wanted is coming true. Like, I literally feel like I'm just living in my divine purpose, and things are manifesting so easily for me. And that kind of brings me to our topic today, which is, are you living in your purpose? And I want to talk about Ikigai, which is like this Japanese concept, but we will get a little bit more into that later. I think I have felt super aligned and just in my divine purpose because I've kind of have a very intimate relationship with my higher self and my higher power, right? So whether you call that nature or God or the universe or Allah or Jehovah, like whatever you words you want to use, I think really just developing that conversational relationship is what helps you to find your purpose and like what God has in store for you in this life. This actually reminds me, so if you guys, you may not know me personally, but if you do, I am like obsessed with like redoing my phone screen background and all my backgrounds on all my digital devices every month. And so for June, I added this quote that I've really been enjoying, and it is by Paulo Coelho, who, if you don't know, is the author of The Alchemist. And the quote goes, "Praying is talking to the universe. Meditation is listening to it." I love that so much. And I think as I try to like rebuild my prayer practice and deepen my meditation practice, that quote just really helps me to kind of understand like where I'm actively like asking and speaking and talking, and when I'm like trying to actively listen. And it can be hard to do that sometimes. So that being said, we are going to be actively listening today, and we're going to do a higher self meditation. I love this. Also inspired by Dr. Lisa Miller. My friends make fun of me because every time I refer to her, I do refer to her by her full name, Dr. Lisa Miller. But anyway, I am rambling. I am so happy you're here. Let's get started on the meditation. When you're ready, begin to soften into your body. Relax your shoulders down your spine. Release your tongue from the roof of your mouth and unclench your jaw. If possible, I also invite you to soften your gaze or bring your eyes to a complete close. Begin to notice your inhales and your exhales. Just noticing how the pranayama, the life force energy, begins to travel throughout your body, breathing in and breathing out. We'll begin our meditation with 3 breaths all together. When you're ready, nice big inhale in and out. Twice more. Inhale and exhale. Last time. Inhale. Hold at the top. Sip in a little more air. And then let it go. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Behind your eyelids, I invite you to think of a happy place. This can be your childhood bedroom, maybe your current living situation, your favorite park, or your favorite coffee shop. Maybe this is even a place that only exists inside your mind. Whatever it is, I invite you to look around the room and spot 3 beautiful things. I now invite you to take another look around the room. And this time, out of the corner of your eye, you see a big, bright red door with a golden doorknob. As you approach this door, I invite you to feel the crispness inside your hand as you feel the coolness of the knob. As you open it, you are led to a well-beaten path in a little forest. And as you walk this path, I once again invite you to notice 3 beautiful things. As you get towards the end of this path, I invite you to enter a clearing with a big tree right in the middle. I invite you to feel the sun shining on your face, the earth underneath your feet, and the breeze in your hair. As you approach this tree, I invite you to take a nice, comfortable, easy seated position. Take a few breaths in and out. Inhale and exhale. Last time. Inhale and exhale. As you sit at the base of the tree, I now invite you to call in your higher self and invite them to have a seat next to you. Taking some time just to notice how your higher self manifests in your mind's eye. Maybe it's a younger version of you representing innocence, or an older version of you representing wisdom. Or maybe your higher self doesn't take a physical form at all. Maybe it's a being of light, or just a feeling you have on the inside. However they appear is how they are supposed to appear. Have trust. Have faith. I now invite you to turn to your higher self and ask the following question. Do you love me? I now invite you to ask another question. What in my life needs to shift so I can be more like you? What in my life needs to shift so I can be more like you? I now invite you to ask your higher self one last question. What do I need to know right now? What do I need to know right now? I now invite you to take some time to thank your higher self for being present with you in this space today. Maybe that's a hug, a warm embrace, a loving smile, however it is that feels natural and comfortable for you. Prepare to leave this space, once again walking down that well-beaded path. I'd like to invite you to spot 3 beautiful things. As you near the end of the path, you see that bright red door with that golden doorknob. And as you reach out for the doorknob, you feel the crispness of the chill in your hand. You open the door into the space, your happy place, your safe space. And we'll come out just as we came in with 3 breaths. When you're ready, nice big inhale in and out. Inhale and exhale. Last time, big inhale in. Hold at the top, sip in a little more air, and let it go. Begin to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Slowly begin to blink your eyelids open. And as we practice listening to the universe, I invite you to take a moment to pause this podcast and journal and reflect on anything that came up for you. Hello. Okay, welcome back to the other side. I hope that was a really good meditation for you. I do this often in my restorative yoga class, and I just feel like it's one of the ones that resonates the most deeply with everyone, because your higher self knows you better than you know yourself. And I feel like we oftentimes put so much faith into our knowing, if that makes sense. I know what's best for me. I know what I need. I need to control my future. I. And oftentimes, the universe is not thinking in I language. The universe is thinking in a universal language and manifesting and moving things for the greater good of all beings. And sometimes we can just get so selfish and be like, no, but I want to go to this school and I want to work this job and I need to live in this apartment. And the moment you kind of let go of that control and surrender to the universe and your higher self and your higher power, the moment things just start really easily falling into place. And I have seen that time and time again. The moment I let go is the moment everything comes back to me tenfold. So I hope you're able to learn that sooner than I did. It took me a really long time to learn how to let go of things. But anyways, transitioning on to our spiritual concept now. So I am really excited to talk about Ikigai. So Ikigai is a Japanese concept that helps people live a purposeful and meaningful life, especially when it comes to their career path. As I recently graduated from Columbia University, I don't think I've shared what's next with everyone yet, but I do think I've shared on the podcast. I'm heading into a doctoral program. And so when it comes to my career path and what's ahead, I'm really excited and really looking forward to it. But there was a time in my early 20s when I was just so lost when it came to what career I should be doing. And so I thought this episode would be really great to kind of help people understand like how to look at like their career trajectory. And so I love me some Ikigai. And if you're not familiar with the concept, it's essentially a lot of different Venn diagrams that all overlap. So 1 is love, what you love to do. 2 is needs, what the world needs. 3 is what you are good at. And then 4 is what you can be paid for, essentially, right? We're trying to get careers. So out of all these different concepts and all these different circles, when what you love and what the world needs overlaps, it forms a mission. So some people might be in careers that are an overlap of what they love and what the world needs, maybe a climate enthusiast or something like that, and they're living in their mission. There's multiple overlaps. So the next one is what you love and what you're good at. And so when those two overlap, those form a passion. So people who are very much into like, I honestly think this is probably every like professional athlete are very much living within their passion. It's something that they love and it's something that they're good at. Moving on, the next kind of overlap is what you're good at and what you can be paid for. So those kind of overlap to become a profession, right? Which we're working professionals, quote unquote. That's typically how a lot of people are making money. It's something that they're good at and something that they can be paid for, but they might not necessarily have that passion, something that they love within their career, or something that the world needs, right? Like I have friends that just work jobs that are simply jobs. Like they have no passion for it whatsoever, no love for it. And they also kind of think that their job might be a little evil, but that's capitalism for you. And then lastly, when what you can be paid for and what the world needs overlaps, that forms a vocation. So think of like doctors or like pastors, preachers, like farmers even, stuff like that. And so if you are able to get to the heart of the Venn diagram and find something that you love, something that you're good at, something that the world needs, and something that you can be paid for, you have found your Ikigai. And I honestly believe that it's rare, but super possible to find your Ikigai. And I think that's why you see people who are like perfectly happy working well into their old age, not because they have to, but rather because they found their Ikigai, and this is like a mission for them, a passion, a profession, a vocation. It's everything. It's like their driving life force, right? And in order to be happy, I don't really think it's necessary that you have to find your Ikigai. I think in some cases it's like perfectly fine for a job to just be a job. We have such a beautiful gift of life, and it's not also like super necessary for our careers to fulfill us entirely, which I think society really like dictates like your career should be your life. Like I have experienced some corporate lawyers in my life, and the way that they work, I just could never understand it. Like no time for personal lives at all. No offense to any lawyers in the building. Law firms actually in general are like one of the biggest sectors, like kind of leaning into mental health, just because they have quickly realized that they're overworking and have high turnovers, and lawyers tend to be really pessimistic and evil people. Not evil, so to say, but just like super pessimistic, and which their job facilitates because they're kind of rewarded to think of like the worst case scenarios. And so then their default like processing is, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? When things go wrong, like negative spiral. Okay. I'm getting a bit on a tangent. A lawyer has hurt me in the past. But anyways, so I do think it's necessary to have awareness of where your current job lands for you, right? So if it's something you love and something the world needs, you have a mission. If it's something you love and something that you're good at, you have a passion. If it's something you're good at and something you can get paid for, you have a profession. And if it's something you can get paid for and something that the world needs, you have a vocation. Also, I thought it might be necessary to give the definition of a vocation because I didn't even know. Like, I've heard of vocational schools, but I didn't really know what that word meant. So, a vocation is a strong feeling of suitability for a particular career or occupation. Because a lot of vocational schools are like trade schools, like mechanic schools, beautician schools, stuff like that. So, I just thought that would be good to clarify here. I think, speaking from my personal experience, I think one of the reasons why I feel so much joy every day is because I currently work as a yoga teacher. And for me, that falls under something that I love, something that the world needs, something I can be paid for, and then also something that I'm good at. And being a yoga teacher is really being my Ikigai. And I know that to be true because I am definitely not in it for the money. And it's also something I would do if I never earned like another dollar for it. I feel very similarly about, this podcast and my YouTube channel. Like, I have been podcasting not so much. I just started this year, but I've had my YouTube channel for like 2 years now and I'm not monetized. If I'm being sincere, I've honestly started my channel like 8 years ago. But I really love the concept of YouTube. I also watch a lot of YouTube. So I think when you find something that you will do regardless, that's your Ikigai. I do want to share though, I haven't always been in this place. I've had jobs in the past that just like were not aligned. For example, I used to work in advertising and I used to support large beauty brands, think L'Oreal, Maybelline, etc. And in this role, it was really something I was good at and it was something that I could be paid for. But ultimately, it was just a profession for me. I tried to like convince myself that I love beauty and I would get like a lot of free beauty products, invitations to really cool events and stuff. But I had to like really be honest with myself. It wasn't a job that I would do if I wasn't compensated for. And ultimately, I decided to leave because I felt like I was not being compensated enough for the value that I was bringing to the team. And I think sometimes when I reflect on like that part of my life, I think I was really unhappy in my career because I was spending so much time trying to convince myself that I had a passion or a love for something when that simply wasn't true. And that was causing a lot of cognitive dissonance. I was like, oh, like, I love this company. I love this beauty brand. I love beauty. Why don't I love my career? And that cognitive dissonance, and I'll pause for a second here. Cognitive dissonance is the discomfort a person feels when their behavior does not align with their beliefs, values, or actions. So cognitive dissonance is a psychological phenomenon that occurs when a person holds two contradictory beliefs at the same time. So those beliefs for me at that time was like, oh, I am so passionate about my job. I love my job. This is my family. But then at the same time, I knew I'm only here for a check. And I think because I was trying to convince myself my job was something that it wasn't, it was ultimately just leading to a lot of frustration and unhappiness and aggression. And I ended up taking that out on the people that were closest to me because obviously in professional settings, you can't really like scream at your boss. So then I was like screaming at like my friends and my family, and it just was a really, really bad situation. And so I think in order to better like move forward, actually, this kind of leaves us to our mindful closure. So let that marinate for a bit and we'll just transition into the mindful culture now. Okay, my loves, I had to like drink water. I was really rambling there for a second. But for your mindful closure or our mindful closure, I invite you to kind of reflect on Ikigai. And if this is your first time hearing about the concept, I highly recommend that you just quickly put Ikigai into Google, Ikigai, and just take a look at the beautiful Venn diagram and then see where your life falls there, right? So find something, your career, right? Identify where your career falls. And then if you're missing something, like something that you love or something that you're good at, I invite you to find a new way to incorporate the gap, like maybe a hobby or something. Life is short, and I feel like sometimes as we become adults, we forget that we too deserve to have extracurricular activities and fun in our lives. One thing that I've started doing this year is taking piano lessons, and honestly, being super terrible at something and trying so hard is just so fulfilling to me. I have a love of learning, and I just love learning new things, and piano has been really life changing. I just love the musical community that I'm in now in Brooklyn, and it's really helped me kind of fulfill the gaps when I had finished all my coursework for school early and I didn't necessarily need to keep learning psychology or psychological concepts. I could just focus on my internship. Also, I think a really good way to kind of bring in more love, more things you're good at, is to revisit those childhood hobbies and childhood dreams. I always wanted to take piano lessons, so I did that. I loved playing tennis when I was little, so occasionally I'll take lessons here or there, or I'll just play by myself. But I also picked up coloring once again, which has been also life-changing. So it doesn't have to be a sport. It doesn't have to be huge. You can literally just buy a coloring book, but definitely take some time, reflect on where you are in your Ikigai chart, and find ways to fill the gap. All right. I love you so, so much. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Love you. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Naked Yoga Podcast. My name is Nika, and if you want more content from me, you can follow me on Instagram or subscribe to my YouTube channel at Nourish Nika. This is a completely independent podcast. Yes, I write the scripts, record, and edit the podcast all by myself. Therefore, any support you could give, like a share, a comment, maybe leaving a little review on Apple Podcast or wherever you might be listening, would go a very long way and warm my little itty bitty heart. Thank you so much once again for listening, my love bug. I will see you in the next episode.